That was a great face for the start of this show. This is the DLS Dallas Stars podcast. I forgot that we don't do a cold open when we are at home. Why are we at home? Well, because Craig Ludwig is in Wisconsin, not near the studio, and Owen Newkirk is still on vacation, doing God knows what. So we are home. Luds and I holding it down for the rest of the week. We're going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff. We had Mike Hike on yesterday. That was a lot of fun. Today, we're going to get into some more Dallas Stars stuff, specifically talking about a few of the older players on the roster. It sounds so funny talking about a 34-year-old like he's an old man, but in hockey, you are. Once you turn 30, you're on your way down, as some say. So, Luds, let's talk first, real quick. How was your soccer experience last night? As Andrew Leonard asks if you are now a soccer fan.
No, I'm not. You can tell Andrew I'm not.
Better or worse?
You know what? If it wasn't this particular event, I probably wouldn't be watching it all. The coolest part about it is the fans for me. I mean, the fans are actually hitting people harder than some of and when they get hit, they kind of just go on with their business. They don't lay and roll around. But I do enjoy, seeing all the fans and how they get into it and all that kind of stuff. So obviously it's a cool event for everybody that's involved. And, but as far as the game goes, I'd say not knowing a ton about it, a couple little boo-boos. The guy with the ponytail for the U.S. Team, Jesus, he was -3 as far as I know.
Yeah, he had a tough night last night.
Yeah,
sure. That's for sure. All right, well, let's talk about hockey. That was enough soccer. We less than 1 minute we hit soccer on there, so that was fantastic. Let's talk about hockey today. So we talked a little bit about Jamie Benn and his role with Mike Hike yesterday. I want to go into a couple of the other guys, Tyler Seguin and Matt Duchene. This team, as you heard from us yesterday, the roster's depleted, right? We still think it's a good team, but it's not a team that looks like a Stanley Cup contender sitting there. When you look at their lineup, you're not sure who goes where, who gets elevated, who they're expecting to play a bigger role. So specifically, the interesting ones to me is Duchene and Seguin, because Seguin, we have no idea, right? He's coming off yet another long injury, ACL. He says he's going to be great, stronger than ever, but we've seen that story before, and he's just been hit and hit and hit over and over again, decimated with injuries. So really, he's 34, turning 35 in January. His body is much older than that. And then the flip side is Matt Duchene, who had a weird year. He had the huge concussion in the home opener, missed a long time, never really looked like himself coming back. And then Sean Shapiro called him out for being cooked, and he took off and had a great finish to the regular season. But then he also, like the rest of the team, went quiet in the playoffs. Now. There you go. Exactly. Thank you, Sean. So just going over some stats real quick before I throw it to you, Luds. Duchene finished with 16 goals, 45 points in 57 games. Seguin, 7 goals, 17 points in 27 games. Seguin was somehow plus 10, despite only playing in the 27 games before his ACL in December. So just open-ended, Luds, what do you expect from those two this season? What are the expectations in terms of what they can produce coming off injury and coming off of this last year?
Well, I'll start with Tyler. I don't know if I'm going to call it expectations. I'm hoping it's health, that Tyler feels good. Whether he starts the season or 10 or 15 games in, wherever that stands as of now, because, I think you said Tyler had 7 goals last. What did he play? 25, 26?
27 games.
20. Okay. So what does that come out to? I mean, he's a 20 goal scorer, right? He's a 15 to 20 goal scorer. So what that basically does is it picks up the slack for Maverick maybe being gone. But then who fills in for the spot that Seguin, the goal that he should. So, and I think that he's so important to the room, also very similar to Jamie Benn. I think Tyler is a big voice in there, and I think he's got a little swagger to himself, the way that he probably interacts with the players and things like that, which is very important. So he's obviously an important piece. And then when you talk about Matt, there's no question when he's healthy, it's, he's a good player. He's still and you know what he does. I mean, he's a pass guy first. You have to have people, I believe, that can play with him, like Tyler, that can read off of what he does. He likes to go to that right side. You got to find a hole there. Coming in late, or areas that Matt does his best work on his forehand side of things. But, I think that what you've got to have is you got to find the pieces now that can play together. And you got to find that. And again, if it would be Matt Duchene and Tyler, and I think yesterday you guys had Jamie on the left side on that line, didn't you? So
yeah, I think so.
Is that what you had? Did you have Ben?
No, actually, I think it was Seguin, Duchene, and Steele, I think.
Oh, okay.
Ben was on the left wing of the other line. I can't remember exactly, but
and Sam Steele. I mean, again, that's a spot I think Sam Steele. Now, can Sam Steele translate what Duchene does into goals like Mason Marchment did, or like Tyler Seguin? Not really. Well, it doesn't appear to be, because when the puck was coming over from Mikko Rantanen, he wasn't.
Thank you, Ryan.
There you go. He wasn't able to translate those passes from Rantanen into goals when he was up on that line. So, but again, and what did Sam have? He was probably in the 15 or that neighborhood last year as far as goals go. 15, 16.
12.
How many do you have? 12.
12.
Okay, I gave him a little more credit. He should have had 15.
He should have had 15. Yes.
Yeah. So and again, I don't know if he can be a 20 goal scorer, and so. But for those two guys that you're talking about, Matt, first and foremost for both of them is health. They've got to be that. Now, the other thing about Matt Duchene is he did most of his damage when he got to play with better players. And he got up there with, whether it was Wyatt or Mikko or, Robo, guys like that. He did his best work. And he was kind of lobbying for that, for a while. And then when he did, he kind of took off. And I think he's another guy that can create on the power play again from that right side of the goaltender. As you're looking at him, he gets on his forehand. He can make those kind of nifty little pays in the past. Same kind of thing Rantanen does. So, but again, back to those two, for me, the first and foremost is health. And then for Matt, it's going to be who does he play with? And for Tyler, it's just keeping his health and being able to play, whether it's 80 games this year or 50 games, whatever it may be, that he can head into the playoffs, because he would be a valuable piece if Tyler can be in the playoffs and be healthy.
Yeah. What do you think what realistically should fans expect in terms of numbers? So if we're just looking straight up, is Matt Duchene, I said he had 45 points. He only played 57 games though. So that's obviously, you mentioned health. Health is the biggest part of both of these, not just, it honestly has nothing to do with their age either. Like Seguin has been being hurt since he was, 25 years old, and Duchene's concussion, I don't think that matters that he's 20, if he's 27 or 34, if he gets rocked like that, it's the similar, result. But health is number one for both, because if they don't play the full season, it doesn't really matter what they produce during that short time. If they're fully healthy and they could both play 80 games or so, what are we talking numbers? Are you seeing Duchene as someone who could be a point per game kind of guy? Is he a 20 goal scorer? And then on the flip side, what is Tyler capable of? I know that's a hard answer because we haven't seen him play a full season and be fully healthy in quite a long time.
I think both of those guys, if they're playing with quality people, not with your bottom five, six players, I look at them to be 50, 60 point guys, and I don't think you're going to go into that neighborhood of 70 points there. But so basically, if you can get 20 goals and maybe Matt can pop in a couple more. But again, both of them, I think Duchene will probably see a little bit more power play time maybe than Tyler, but who knows, depending on his health. But I think if those guys could get between 50 and 60 points, now you're starting to pick up a little bit of that slack that we're going to miss from Maverick Bourque.
Is the issue, I guess, for the Stars, do they need to find more goals? Because we're losing 20, right? Stars losing 20 goals. Maverick Bourque, they lost far more than that the year before that when they lost Marchment. They lose Granlund. They lose Dodonov. They lost something like 60 goals the year before that. They were okay. They weren't top of the league in scoring, but I think you and I agree. I don't know if Owen is on the same page with this. I don't think this team should worry too much about offense. And maybe that's just me looking at teams in the past and thinking they're just going to do it again. But I've never seen this team and been like, man, during the regular season, I'm not talking about, obviously playoffs is a totally different story, but during the regular season, I never watched this team and go, man, they cannot score goals. It's usually, wow, they're giving up too high quality of chances, or wow, their goaltending's been struggling, or wow, they couldn't get enough. They couldn't put a puck past the goalie, even though they had 40 shots. But it's not ever to me that they're not creating enough offense during the regular season. This is a very good regular season offensive team. So I guess, I'm just looking at stats here. And if you're looking at numbers, you got Wyatt and Robo, who tied at 45 each last year, which was a great, funny story of them chasing each other. Mikko Rantanen, I know he didn't play a full season. He's next up with 22. That's a very large gap. I know you're not going to have 4 guys in the 40s, but I think for the Stars to have the season they want to have, it feels like they just need to either close that gap or have a few more of those that are in the 18, 16 kind of range, because otherwise I think we're going to watch a team that's, let's say Seguin is a 15 goal guy. Duchene can get 20 or whatever it might be. The rest of the lineup, what are you hoping? Kiviranta gets 10. You're hoping, Sam Steele gets 15 to 18. You're hoping Ben can somehow once again do it and get 18 or 15. I just don't know where the goals are going to come from. And I don't want this team to run into a spot where they're looking at their lineup and going, oh, we have 15 guys that have 3 or fewer goals. And then we have the 4 guys up top that have scored 40, because that's a really tough spot to be in. So I don't, is there an answer for that? Or is the answer just what we've been saying, which is build a little bit more of the in-between kind of guys in the roster?
Yeah, I'll start with Rantanen. Health, for Mikko. I mean, he was hurt when he came back. So
he only played 64 games.
You said he had 20 goals. I think 22. That number from goals and points in general go up because of he was playing. It seemed like he was playing on 1.5 legs, at a time, and he wasn't the same guy. And that was coming back from the Olympics, I guess it was. But I just think that what this whole thing is going to be, it's about where is that one hole on that one side of the ice in the top 6 that they're going to have to fill in. And I think now all of a sudden, if they can find somebody to fit into that, there's 15 to 20 goals for you that you're talking about right there. And then the health is the same thing with Tyler Seguin when you talk about goals. I mean, if Tyler stays healthy, and we can talk about Duchene, all of a sudden the 20 goals that you're looking for are probably right there. Now, as far as Kiviranta, I mean, if you're expecting 6, I guess you're going to have him double up from what he did last year. Now, playing on a team with Bouchard, McDavid, Draisaitl, and only scoring 3 goals. Now, granted, I don't think he spent a lot of time with those guys, probably on the ice on a line. So you can't really say, man, you play on a team like that with those kind of players. He probably didn't get on their line too much. No. He's probably the 3rd, 4th line guy, kill penalties, things like that. So I think he's a utility kind of a player. I don't think we should expect it. If Kiviranta got the 10 goals, that would be another bonus. Radek Faksa, what did Faksa have? 2 or 3 goals last year?
Yeah, let's look. It wasn't a lot. 2.
Yeah.
So let me just real quick. We had Robertson, Johnston at 45, Rantanen at 22, Bork at 20, Duchene 16, Ben 15, Hintz 15, Ritzkovian. That was a big one. Ritzkovian was huge, getting 14. That's a big one for him. That's going to be expectations. We'll talk about in the next segment of players they need to either take a step or at least do what they did last year. And Sam Steele at 12. That's your only double-digit scorers. You got Miro, Tyler, Essa, Ernie, Bastian, Harley, Beck. Harley will be one we will visit here as well. Yeah. Blackwell, Bischel, Lundqvist, Huru, all those guys, Faksa, they're all below 8.
Well, and the other thing is probably the main and most important part of this is the 5-on-5 goal scoring. I mean, a lot of these goals that you're talking about, probably a lot of those came from power play.
Yep.
And again, it's important if everybody stays intact. If you've got Robo there and Harley becomes Harley again, with Miro back there, and then with the addition of maybe Tyler, and Tyler plays that offside for that one-timer spot that he's been in, for a lot of his career, that might be where all those goals come from. But again, to me, it's about the 5-on-5 goal scoring. And we've talked about that all season long. And we talked about it in the playoffs and everything. It was just, it was like and I don't think this is something mentally that they do, but it was like they're just waiting for that power play to come around because we know that we're good on the power play. You're looking more forward. And again, that's 5 or 6 guys. You still got another 10, 12 guys there that need some goals out of it 5-on-5. But I think in general, if they can get their 5-on-5 play better, and people have been talking about that for a long time, we know that, but it's an important part of the game. Special teams and goaltending, we talk about that consistently, but teams that can put that number up 5-on-5 and be that team that's good there, and then you kind of now all of a sudden that, well, you can't go out and take penalties on this team, number one, because they're going to get on the power play when they're hot. So now all of a sudden the power plays are limited a little bit because they have a little respect for what you do on the power play. In comes your 5-on-5 play.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to talk about Mikko Rantanen. We'll talk about some players who desperately need to take a step forward next season. And we will hit a super chat that we got all in the next segment. Next up here on DLS.
Hey, DLS family. Thank you for being part of this incredible community. Whether you're tuning in for live shows, podcasts, post games, analysis, or breaking news, your support is what makes DLS possible. We are always looking for ways to improve our content and make sure we are delivering the coverage you want most. That's why we've launched a quick listener survey, and we'd love to hear from you. Tell us how you watch, what shows you enjoy most, what you like to see more of, and how we can make your DLLS experience even better. Your feedback directly helps shape the future of our programming and coverage. Survey only takes a few minutes, that's it, to complete it, but your input can have a lasting impact on the content we create every single day going forward. Just head over to altdls.com/contest to make your voice heard. As an added bonus, everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Once again, thank you for being part of the DLLS community. We truly appreciate your support and cannot wait to hear what you think. Visit altdls.com/contest today.
You know that moment when you're sitting there, maybe you're on the beach, maybe you're at the pool, maybe you just got home from the beach or from a vacation, and you're saying, wait a minute, where are my sunglasses? And you realize you left them at the gas station. You left them on the beach. You dropped them in the water in the ocean with the big waves in Laguna Beach, wherever you might have been. That's a bad feeling, especially if you don't have a sunglass company that can help you in that situation. Shady Rays can help you out. Shady Rays is the best. When you get Shady Rays, it changes the game because they replace your sunglasses. Simple. No worries about it. No big, long arguments, no issues, no worrying about having to sell your organs to find new sunglasses. Shady Rays is there to help you out. Now you can wear your sunglasses without fear. That's the key. You can wear them on hikes, you wear them at concerts, wear them on a boat. You don't have to worry about it like it's a laptop and you're going to have to replace it with all your money. Go to shadyrays.com and use code SRDLLS for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. All right, we are back here with Craig Ludwig, our special guest of the day. Craig Ludwig's father right over his shoulder there. Luds, let's hit a super chat real quick, and then we'll get into those other topics. So we have a super chat here. Ryan, go ahead and pop that up. Super chat from Patrick Bylock. It is Swedish krona. Ryan, thank you, Ryan, for helping me out. It translates into approximately $5.19 US for anyone who's asking. So that would be a Nils Lundqvist and Masterton, I think. That sounds right? I think Dallas will land third place in the Central, but seventh in the NHL at 48, 22, and 14. You saw it here first. Okay. Luds, if this team goes exactly that 48, 22, and 14, I think was the record, what will you give this person who just predicted that record exactly before day one?
His money back.
All right, you hear that? You get $5.19 back if you get that right. Is that a good expectation though, too?
Yeah, I mean, right as we sit here today, I mean, you're probably hoping for that. To be honest with you, there's some teams over there in the Pacific that are getting a little bit better, and they're going to be a little bit more dangerous. And probably what that does, it doesn't mean that they're always going to jump ahead of people. But what that may do is it takes a couple points away from you during the course of the season. Anaheim, we'll see what happens with Anaheim, San Jose now all of a sudden with what they've got going on there, some changes and the new coach in Edmonton. So maybe that, brings those guys around. So it's more about what those teams can take away from you during the regular season and point standpoint. But, Colorado, I think Colorado is probably going to be the team that they were last year. Yeah. And I think that we thought they were on a mission the way they went about things last year, regular season wise, for sure. This may put another burr under their saddle with, the way that it played out playoff wise. And in all honesty, there may be a conversation in that room and management, coaches, players where maybe we don't have to put quite an emphasis on being as good as we were in the regular season. Let's be consistent. And when we're not going to pour everything into all 84 games this year. We understand those guys do. We're the most important time of the season is. So, and then I would expect that the Wild are just going to keep getting stronger. They've got some confidence now, especially against Dallas. I mean, if you finish and Colorado finished where they were, and then you got the 2-3 again, and you're playing Minnesota in the first round or second round, wherever it may be, I think that it's going to be a tougher team. And Bill Guerin there, he understands what season you're playing for, and he's going to put things together that are tougher to play against in the playoffs. And so I just believe that team. And obviously they're pushing hard for Larkin, and who knows what's going to happen there. But not only that, he's got to find another centerman. He finds his top centerman, that team is going to be a lot stronger than they were.
Yeah, I'm curious for you because it's felt like it's for me. I'm curious. Do you think that over the last, I don't know, let's call it 10 years, the NHL has become less predictable? Like I feel like now you're just talking about what you think would happen, Central and all that kind of stuff. I feel like this past 5 to 10 years, it's become like, oh, preseason, here's what we're going to predict. And then it just blows up. And I don't know if that's really new or if that's just my recency bias or what, but I don't remember it being as unpredictable in the past. Is that younger players? Is that more parity throughout the league? What is the reason that it may be harder to predict how the season's going to end?
I think it's the parity. You can look at the bottom of the league. Maybe there's 4 or 5 teams, that are the bottom teams. And when you go in there, you probably, not that you sit there and go, oh, we're going to pick up 2 points here, but you can pretty much, count on coming out of that in a positive spot. But then the rest of the teams, they're tough. I mean, I remember the first time that Anaheim came into Dallas, and I don't know if it was this past season early or the last season. It was a 7-5 game, and that might have been the beginning. Was that the beginning of this past season?
That was this year, yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't believe it was the same Anaheim team. Like it was different. I mean, and the speed and the way that they play the game, and all of a sudden you're, wait a second, was this more about Anaheim or is this about Dallas? And as as the season moves along, and then we see what's going on with them now. But the other one that's probably going to kind of crawl into the picture here is going to be San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
They were knocking on the door, and so you got a couple of young players that have had some success this year, and they're going to want to be in the playoffs. So I just think that what Green has done there in adding things, that it's they're getting to a spot where they believe that they can not only get to the playoffs, but they can make some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, it felt like the moves they made weren't just let's get better and keep growing. It was like, okay, we're done. We're ready. We're ready to get.
We're here. We want to be here.
Which would be cool. It's cool to see. Yeah. I think for me, I know Stars fans just want to see the Stars have success, but like it's cool for me to see a team that's been so bad for a long time, right? You see a team that's rebuilding. I mean, it feels like Chicago feels like they've been rebuilding since I was born. I know that's not true. They obviously won the cups and had the success.
They're not going to be better this year, I don't think.
Yeah, but it's the same thing, right? So it's cool to see when a team finally does figure it out. We'll talk about another team in California that thought they might have figured it out and maybe now hasn't in the Anaheim in a second. But let's get back to the Stars here first before we go into some scheduling stuff. We talked about the player, the Duchene, Seguin, what expectations might be. We talked about the holes. So if you're the Stars, and again, this is all – we don't think this team should be set the way it is. Bloods and I have made that very clear. But let's say that's the way it's going to be. I just in the chat, Jason Robinson, and I almost just said it. Jason Robertson signs for whatever, 13, whatever million. He's there. The team relatively looks like what it looks like right now, but with Robertson up there. So if that's the case, who are your targets for having to take a big step forward? Because last year it was Maverick Bourque and Nils Lundqvist. Guess what? Both of them did it, but then you lost one of them. So now you can't even take the next step with Maverick Bourque. It's now back to zero again. Who are the guys up front and on the back that you really need to take a step forward if you're going to have success this year?
Well, we'll start with Thomas Harley. There's no – Thomas needs to be the guy he was a couple of seasons ago.
Yep.
So – and that's not just, getting close to 20 goals. It's about his complete game. It's being able to play at his own end and defend and do all the things he's supposed to do in that particular area. And the rest of the offensive things, I think, will take care of themselves. As far as other guys picking up and trying to be, I mean, I think if we're talking, let's look at Ritzy Ritz. Can he add a couple more goals? But I mean, he had a hell of a first season, and he was used all over the map, up on the first line and then down and up and around. Brings that little edge to the game. So hopefully he picks up where he's at. Sam Steele, I know we've given Sam a little bit of grief once in a while from not putting pucks in the net, but he works hard every single shift when he's placed in the right spot. And I think that it's probably that middle six, and he gets on that third line, and I think it's not so much about the goals for him. I mean, there's other things that he does.
When he had 12, if he wasn't put up there with Rantanen for so long, no one would be looking at 12 and saying, "God, he should have had 20." It's Sam Steele.
Exactly.
But he had the chances to do it. But I think that's the key. The Stars have so many players that, that aren't going to have the success when you put them in that spot that maybe you want them to. Ritzkovian, we thought maybe would do it. But I think the key is that if Dallas can find a way to put a few people in their actual spots where they should be, they're a much better team. They just don't have the people above them right now. So everyone's basically being elevated up, whether that's from the fourth line to the third line or from the AHL to the fourth line. That's been the issue. So I think that's the key with Sam Steele. But continue.
Well, no, I mean, you're right on, Sam. I mean, again, it's more about that top six, and now with Maverick gone, and even with Robo being back, we were still always looking for a top six left winger, right? So now we're looking for a top six left winger. Are we looking for a top six right winger to fill in for Matt, or is that? Is that not Duchene? Is that Tyler Seguin? I mean, if he stays healthy, can he fill into that spot? Where Maverick was. So,
right.
And maybe that's the hole that will be plugged, but we don't know that yet. So you can't really pencil that in right now. And so I think you're still, and again, so they are too. I mean, they're looking for a couple. They're looking for a couple spots. But again, I think that they're going to count on Tyler Seguin being healthy, which you should. We should all do that. We all hope that. But you still have to have that top six winger that can play up there with whatever line it's going to be, whether Robo's on that top line or is on the second line. And again, yes, Ritzy can play up there. He's shown that, but he's not a 30-40 guy as of right now. We don't see that in him.
Maybe 20, right? Like he had 14 last year. So
yeah. So I mean, if he had that, and now if he got a little extra power play time and somehow a couple of, how he digs around in front of the net, he's going to get a couple goals there. That puts him right there at 18 to 20 goals.
Yep.
But even at the 16 that he had last year, playoff wise, it didn't matter. Nothing helped us, So
Nothing.
they need another. I don't want to call it a gunslinger because that's probably Robo, that's Wyatt, but they need somebody that can pitch in with some weight and 25 to 30 goals.
Yeah, and I think Harley's the one. As soon as I thought of this conversation for today, Thomas Harley just popped up. Not just. I mean, we know that Thomas Harley needs to be better as a defenseman, right? Even in general, even before last year, he still had tons to work on as a defenseman. We all knew that. He's never going to be the lockdown guy. That's not his style, but he had room to grow. Now he took a step back defensively, but the problem is the offense took a step back too, right? If Harley came out last year and scored 20 goals but was bad defensively and was giving pucks away, it'd be like, hey, you know what? He's really got to keep working on his defense. It wouldn't be like this guy had the worst season of his life. But because he had, what did he have? Like, I'm trying to look real quick at his goals. 6 goals. 6 goals in 70 games.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy who scored, 15 the year before that and had 4 game winners and was the overtime hero, always looked like a threat. I think that's the biggest problem with Harley last year is that he didn't have one way or the other. He was much better defensively. It reminds me of Nils, actually. Nils, when he first came in, was, struggling defensively, but he was really creative. He came in every game he played. He had a chance. He had a cycle in the zone. He had a couple of highlight reel goals, but his defense was poor. Pete DeBoer kind of ripped into him on that, benched him a bunch, as we know. The next season he comes out, he's very defensive. He's better defensively, but his offense was just gone, right? Yeah. It was nothing to do with it. This year he found a little bit of the middle ground. So that's what the Stars need from Harley is lean more offensive, please. We all want you to. We want you to be the guy who's shooting the puck. Somebody needs to shoot the puck a little bit more. But they also he needs to take a step forward defensively. I think that kind of middle ground will help where, be good at one thing and then work on the other versus just not being good at either thing. And that's what really hurt the Stars this year. So,
well, and another guy that we haven't talked much about at all, and it's Liam Bichsel. And my concern is Liam. He's played a couple of years now, and he's had a couple of injuries that have kept him out for some time.
Yes.
Because part of the reason that Bichsel is going to be a big key to this game is because of what he brings physicality wise. He's a big guy, he can hit, and he's going to continue to have to be better in his own zone. He's going to continue to have to improve on entries in his own zone, how he kind of likes to turn and go straight at guys at the time. But there's so much there. So, when I'm thinking of Thomas Harley, I'm thinking, well, yeah, we're talking about those guys, but there's these other two guys, and we know Tyler Myers, right? Tyler Myers is Tyler Myers. We've had that conversation, right? But I think that Liam Bichsel, hopefully he stays healthy all season long, and he gets pushed into some more, or at least push him up a little bit, push him to get more involved offensively, because when he wants to go, he's got
great hands.
Yeah, he's got good hands. He's got a good shot. So maybe that's where you're going to end up seeing 10 or 12 goals this year. I don't know if he's going to get enough ice time for that, but hopefully we see that from Liam.
Yeah, for Bichsel too. It's a weird balance. So I'm curious your thoughts on how the Stars balance it, right? Because to me at least, Bichsel, I think they would hope is a top 4 type of guy, right? I know the way they're lined up, he's technically on their third pairing, but to me, if you were listing, at least what the Stars would want, they would want Essa, Miro, Harley, and Leon as your top 4. Skill wise, he's only 22 years old or whatever he is. The ceiling is higher than he is right now. But the realistic way of it is they have a ton of lefties. He's not going to play. They're not going to put him on the right, at least as of now, with Harley, and play 4 lefties as your top 4. That's probably not a good recipe either. So how do you balance that? How do you kind of instill the confidence in Bichsel that you want him to be the big dog when he's really going to be playing bottom pair minutes, potentially with Tyler Myers?
Well, again, what he has to do, what I think will get him more minutes, is if he plays well defensively. So I don't think you're gonna push. I wouldn't be pushing him to become a better offensive guy and get more involved until he can get that defensive game and be that guy that when you see quality players coming down on his side of the ice, when they get about the blue line area, they go to the other side of the ice or they do something different. That's good defending, is when they're afraid to come to your side. Yep. It's not always just about physicality. It's about his size and his reach and his stick. And they're like, man, we can't get by the dude. So there's too many times when, little things happened and coverage like that. And so I don't think that you turn him loose and turn him into Evan Bouchard. Okay, Evan Bouchard, he's not going to be Evan Bouchard. But
that's good.
But the one thing about Bouchard is that he's mentioned in a Norris show. We know why. I mean, it's because of the point thing.
100 points.
He's dangerous. He's dangerous. He's dangerous from the offensive blue line in. But the rest of his game, don't be Evan Bouchard. I'd rather have you be Liam Bichsel. That is that guy that can defend, and then you can chip in some points and maybe you get 10, 12, 15 goals a year. And then you kind of work your way up there. And what really, the other thing that does, that may push Thomas Harley, because, Thomas has to get back to his game, because if he doesn't, and Bichsel is, there's going to be times they can flip-flop those two. When all of a sudden Bichel's up there and doing some more positive things at both ends of the rink, and maybe he deserves to get an extra 4 or 5 minutes a night, and Thomas doesn't have his game together. So, but I don't expect that. I think we've just seen too many positive things out of Harley that last year we're going to kind of give him a pass on it. There was a lot of things going on, not including the team and all the other events and all that kind of stuff. So maybe he gets his game going. But I'm looking for Liam Bichsel now in his third year. Will this be his third year? And again, what's he played total games so far, Sam? Total games.
He played 88, so 50 and 38 in his first 2 seasons.
Yeah, so he's played he's played one rookie season so far. Yeah, so he still obviously has lots of time for growth, but I'm hoping to see him kind of get more involved at both ends of the rink.
Yeah, and I think for me, Mikko Rantanen is one. I know it's going to sound silly because it was all the injury, not just that he missed the time he missed, but also you said it, he was playing on half a leg, if not one leg, for half the season. So
yeah, but that being said, the one guy we haven't even mentioned his name yet.
Who?
That's my point. How about number 24?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly. We haven't even mentioned his name.
It's another one, though. It's health.
That's it.
Yeah. I feel like for half this team, it's just like, hey, you know what? Just get back to being healthy, and we believe that you'll probably be pretty productive, right?
Yep. And there, you want to talk about where are those goals going to come from?
Yeah.
Give us 80, 81, 82 games of a healthy Roope Hintz, and maybe that's the difference. Those are the goals.
Yeah. You know what? Tomorrow, lads, we're going to talk a ton about Mikko Rantanen. I just decided right now. So let's get to the next segment where we talk about the NHL schedule and some other fun stuff here on DLS. But first,
you want me to talk a couple minutes about some merch here?
Let's do it.
Well, let's show some soccer shirts. Now that I'm a soccer fan. I was a soccer fan last night, and I came to the party, and it didn't turn into a party. So, but anyway, there is the cup collection. Mexico, they're out. U.S., you're out. Don't know what the little guy in the red one in the middle is, but anyway, there is our USA Cup collection shirt. And we didn't even mention Robo as much as we should. So we're going to stay on the Jason Robertson shirt, because I'm sure we're going to close the show with Robo saying, "See you next summer. Have a nice summer."
No news so far.
I'm sure that's going to come along. There's Robo. Speaking of the Moose, what do we got, Ryan? What Moose shirt do you got? There it is, the finisher. Finisher just needs to have some health, and then all of a sudden his finishing abilities will come back to life, as long as he has a couple people that he's playing with that can finish it up. There's the Moose shirt. We're going to talk a lot about the Moose tomorrow. He's going to be back to 100% health, and so maybe that solves all of the problems, whether Jason Robertson is playing in Anaheim, he's playing in Dallas, or wherever he's going to be. The Moose will be ready to go and roll over some people. And then let's get, speaking of the hints, how about the Finnish Mafia, Ryan? Let's head over there. There it is. There's our Finnish Mafia shirt. Yeah, we also have the hoodie. We've got the hoodie. And then we are going to finish the one that you probably aren't wearing too much of right now. But what is that one? Nothing else matters one? Yeah, we haven't talked about this one at all. And so anyway, there's our phrase and our logo that we headed into the playoffs, and it didn't work out so well. So the only thing that matters right now is I think we're about done with this segment, if my clock is right.
I don't know. I wasn't looking at the time, but it's close enough. If not, Ryan, you know what? Go back to me, and I'll show you one more shirt. Sharpshooter, Wyatt Johnston. You want to be the sharpshooter? Get Wyatt Johnston. AllDLS.com for all that amazing stuff Leds was just talking about. All right, let's go into the schedule, Leds. We got some information, I think, yesterday about the schedule. For anyone who didn't see it, the NHL schedule will be released. What's it in? Basically a week from now, July 15th. They'll announce the opening night matchups, which historically the Stars almost never play. I feel like on opening night they usually play later, so they're probably not involved in that. I'm sure there'll be a whole lot of New York and Boston and Pittsburgh, like there always is. And we'll get the banner raising as well in Carolina. But the rest of the schedule will be released the next day on July 16th. So there's two parts I want to do. Let's say I want to talk about the schedule itself, and then I want to talk about the preseason and how that changes, because this year, for anyone who has missed it, the NHL will move to 84 regular season games and only 4 preseason games. Teams used to play for, about 5, 6. I think most teams played about 6. Some teams played 8. I think Detroit, was one of the teams that played 8 preseason games, which is just ridiculous and drags on forever. So that's going to make things a little bit different, right? It's going to make the Stars, the preseason will be a little bit less focused on, the young players and the development camp type of players and just kind of seeing where they're at, and more so, I think, focused on the NHL team. So let's start with preseason first, right? So Ryan, want to pop up the Stars preseason schedule with Lud's favorite, one of the Ice Girls, as our graphic here. So we have opening September 19th at St. Louis. 2 days later, they will host the Blues, and then they will take on those famous Minnesota Wild on the 23rd and 25th with home and away. So you got 2 of each in the preseason. No info yet on televised games or anything like that. I think Victory Plus had a couple of them last year with Sevi and Brian Ray kind of calling them. So hopefully we get some sort of way to watch it. But those are your 4 preseason games. So the training camp actually opens on September 17th for Dallas. So it's going to be different, like I said, where it's going to be quicker, right? They go basically right into the games, and then you only get 4 games before you're starting the NHL season, which will start earlier in September this year because of the 84 games. So start with preseason, then we'll go into the regular season. How does the shorter preseason change the way the season will go? And the biggest one, how teams will utilize their players and evaluate their players with a lot less runway than they had last year.
Yeah, it surprised me they're only playing 2 teams. I figured they'd play at least 3 different teams.
Yeah.
So the good news is for these teams travel. That's a good one. All that, not much travel there. A couple games against each other. I think the biggest thing probably when you're only playing 4 preseason games is for the younger players. Generally that you'd like to get those guys in. Now you want to get your veterans in at least 2 games. And generally, that's what you want to do. Maybe guys like Jamie, Tyler, guys like that may only need 1 game. But I think where it hurts the kids making an impression. Being able to come in there and play a game. So for the young guys, they're going to have to do a little extra work in the summer. They're going to have to make sure that they're ready. If they get into that first game, they've got to find a way that they're in the lineup again the second game. So if they're lucky, if you see a player play 3 of the 4 games, a young kid, you probably know he's impressed them enough to possibly find that spot. Now, where I think it's going to, we'll see how this plays out, but I think it hurts the start of the season. I think you're going to see, we talk about start of the season, you're really not concerned about the first 10 to 15 games because it's going to be sloppy on all sides. Passing isn't going to be there, all that kind of stuff. So now we'll see what happens because, again, you're going to have, half of your team's probably only going to have 1 or 2 games played, and then they're going to start the regular season right away. Now, maybe Gully and maybe some of the head coaches are saying, you know what, they're going to play 3 out of 4. And we've got a couple of guys that maybe Jamie Benn, if Jamie only needs 1 game, Tyler, he only needs 1 game, that's fine. I would expect a guy like Mikko Rantanen, who hopefully is going to be back. He may want to play 2 to 3 games at least, be ready to go for the start of the season. So, but just like coming back from an all-star break, they may only be gone for a couple of days. We saw it, the Olympic break, they had the 3 weeks off or what it was, and it almost looked like preseason again. So the passing and all that kind of stuff. So the game won't be as clean when the regular season gets coming around. But again, they've got plenty of time to get their game in order as they kind of proceed through the season.
Yeah, you mentioned the evaluating. I think that's the big one for me. Like you look at just someone like Justin Ritzkovian, who won a spot by playing the way he played in the preseason last year. We've seen it before where certain players have won spots kind of out of nowhere. I think Colton Sevier a long time ago was one that kind of came out of nowhere. A few of those guys, the Stars, not only is that important, but the Stars are in a spot, we just talked about their roster. They're not sitting there with 13 forwards and saying anyone who it impresses us as an AHL, maybe a call up. They need bodies, right? They need the and they might need a Huru. They're going to need the Ritzkovian. They're going to need those type of guys to step up and be potentially impact players, not just roster players. So I'm kind of wondering how they're going to approach it in the sense of, we're probably not going to see any of those guys that are far away, right? Maybe Hemming gets a game, someone like that. But in terms of the first game or first 2 games, usually you see the lineup and you're like, who?
Yeah.
If you're not covering the team, you don't know the players. They got a couple of veterans that are in there, but not a lot of those players. Those games are no longer going to be there.
Are they going to have that rule, Sam? Is that part of where they got to have 8 veterans dressed?
Yeah, I think that was the rule. I haven't seen anything that says it's different. But that's kind of what I'm wondering is how they're going to do it in terms of, you mentioned Jamie or Tyler, those guys, like, do you just kind of tell the real veterans, like the guys are significant players on your team, do you kind of tell them, hey, you're going to get 1 game, but we need to see Sam Steele on a top line. We need to see what Ritzkovian can do centering versus wing. We need to see whatever it might be. We're thinking about Faksa and Huru and who's going to be better. We need to see both of them in a game. Like, I'm just curious how they're going to approach it in terms of, are they going to look at it as, let's use these games to get our NHL roster, or are they going to look at it more as, we think we know what our NHL roster is. Let's get everyone involved, kind of warmed up.
That's what I think. I think that the second part, what you said, they know what their NHL roster is. My thing is, like, when you're taking a guy, let's just say Sam Steele, and you want to get a look at him in that game, and he comes out and he plays really well with those guys, you want to take a look at him again to make sure it just wasn't that game, right? And so it doesn't give an opportunity to somebody else to get up there. Those dates, were they back-to-back? Any of those games back-to-back, or are they spread out?
2 days in between. 2 days in between all of them.
In between all of them?
Yep.
So they're playing 4 games in 8 days. Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's better, yeah. So it gives you time to travel, get home, and whatever they're going to do. So, it'll be interesting to see how they want to do it. Like I said, I just think the start of the season is going to be kind of rugged. I mean, when you talk about special teams and all that kind of stuff, when getting into your groove and all that. So, if these guys are only going to play 1 or 2, and then the other thing is, how many of the guys really want to play 3 or 4 games? So they just want to get the season started. You know what I mean? Like,
especially when you got to play 84.
Well, the Steels, the Ritzkovian, the Blackwells, Becks, guys like that. Of course, those guys are going to want to play. R2D2 and all these other kind of guys are going to want to get into the lineup because they want to be able to show that they want some game time early on. So, and then it's it gives you times to work out a couple of kinks when you have 6 or 7 games in there. Now if you got a couple little blips on the radar, you may start in the season with that, because you don't generally straighten out in the regular season. You try to get them underway before that happens.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to get into some more stuff. We'll talk about the 84 game regular season, and then I'm going to ask Luds about his old friend Beaker and some issues out there in the Orange County. And we got a super chat. We will hit it right after I talk about being a diehard for 2 minutes. Next. All right. 45-15, Luds. That means 47-15 is what we're going
you got a timer.
I got a timer. Oh, I just have the timer right here in the corner. But look at me. I get the QR code now, too, because I got the full screen here. Room's a mess. We're ready for it here today.
Except you're not pointing at the QR code. You're pointing at the wrong one.
See, here's the problem. On my screen, I'm pointing at it. So here,
we don't care about your screen. It's the people that are
watching you guys. So become a diehard. AllDLS.com/diehard. You get all kinds of cool stuff. Let's start right away. As soon as you sign up, you get a free shirt. $35+ value. You get a free shirt right away when you sign up. You get a really cool membership card, which I actually still don't have. But I know that a lot of people use it. I think some people use it for Ardell. I believe you use it for something funny. So please let me know if that's what it is. But really cool diehard membership card. You get 20% off all the rest of the merch. So Luz just talked about all the cool shirts. We've got hats. We've got flags. We got a bunch of cool stuff in the shop, and you get 20% off of all of it. And guess what? That free shirt, not just the first time. Every year when you renew, as long as you're on that regular price, you also get a free shirt so you can stock up. Maybe one of you can have more than Owen at this point, which I feel like might be impossible because I think that guy has 30 shirts from DLS. But you also get 20% off events. So when we go hopefully we do another AAC takeover where we get to go hang out, go to Hooters or go get some food somewhere, and then go to the game with a bunch of the diehards. You get access to that, 20% off. And for all of our events, GM Ben will post those events in the Discord. The diehard Discord is not only fun for conversation, for venting after game. There you go. Ardell scrapes the ice off of the windshield in the 1 week that it gets cold here in Dallas with the diehard card. So it's multi-use tool for you guys. But you also get all the events are usually posted exclusively in the diehard Discord. So you get to go to those before they sell out. A lot of times they don't even make it to the public. And then you can chat about stars, vent about games, ask questions to our guests, whatever you want to do. AllDLS.com/diehard, or that QR code that's in the corner of Lud's screen right now.
It's right over here.
Somewhere. See, you were pointing at the wrong side too. It's all backwards.
Oh, so it's over here.
It's over there. Yeah. All right. So real quick before we get into the Ducks and hit that super chat, let's finish what we were just talking about. How does the 84 change versus 82? Is there much of a difference? Do teams approach it any differently?
No, I mean 2 extra games. I mean, if you were going to add, 6, 7, 8, 10 games, I think that'd be different. But I don't think to guys that are used to playing the 82, you may feel that it's a little bit longer, but for the most part, it's a couple extra days.
Any resting type of thing, because we've seen it a little bit more here and there in the season. Florida's a great example of a team that's just like, hey, you know what? We don't need to be first in our division. We can be wild card third. Does that, the fact that it's extending even more, does that add a little more in the back of your mind of like, hey, you know what? 82 was already a lot. Maybe we think about when that guy's a little bruised up, he takes a couple days off.
I think if you can have the home ice advantage, you prefer to have that. Okay. I don't think you're going to sit there and coast, And then we are always talking about the last 10 to 15 games of the season about getting your game in order. And, I don't think you're going to approach it like that. I think teams are going to go and they're going to try to win. Every team should be trying to win every game they play anyway. So, I don't think there's a ton of panic in it. But, like I said, I don't think it's a big difference just adding a couple games. I know nobody likes it, but what is it, 4 or 5 days extra?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're fine.
All right. Let's hit that super chat, Ryan.
Bing, bang.
There we go.
Oh.
All right. Super chat from Sean Shelley. It's a Miro Haskinen and the Cup year. Luds, can Tyler Myers be coached out of his faults, or is he where he is with no upside coaching wise?
You know what the issue is he's played 18, 20 years, you know what I mean? So, and if anything that he has in his game, trust me that whatever teams he's been with, and if they're glaring mistakes that he's making or positionally, or the one I noticed the most is when he's trying to, he's going to his right and he turns and he tries a little poke check and he misses. And then he's but the good thing for him is he swoops back. He's got the big wingspan, but honestly, I think you are what you are right now. I don't see a big change. Now, was there a little bit of anxiety of coming into the season and coming in the middle after a deadline and getting your games? And I think there was a spot before he even got traded. He didn't play for 2 weeks or something like that, or maybe
trade related reasons.
Yeah. So, that's not easy either. I mean, you come into a new team, there's enough change right there. And then what you were doing is you were watching games in Vancouver with the team that you were with for 2 to 3 weeks. You weren't even playing any games. So, maybe some familiarity coming into this season, new team surroundings, Bischel as a partner, if he's healthy all year, and if Myers is healthy all year, because there were moments that those two were pretty good. I think that one thing where he can be good, where I thought this would be able to take a few minutes away from a guy like whether it's Miro or it's even Essa at times, is on the penalty kill. When you've got a defenseman that's 6'7", 6'8", and if you got both of those guys out there, their sticks get to spots a lot quicker for the guys on the power play than they normally expect. And you see, teams that are killing penalties starting to go with bigger bodies more and more. They just generally take up a lot more space, but it's more about the stick ability to get stick on puck a little bit quicker. So maybe that's an area that those two guys, I mean, if I'm Elaine, I'm working with those guys, to start the year on PK. Let's see if those guys can be that pairing that gets out there against power play units that are pretty good, that move the puck around, especially through the boxes and things like that. You think about Tampa Bay, Kucherov comes to mind all the time. They're sailing things cross-site. You got those sticks in the proper lanes, it can cause some havoc. So, and I think those two could be a good pair. If they got to get some confidence, and it's got to be the confidence, got to be from the coaches and them and the coaches.
Yep. All right. Good question. Thanks for the super chat. All right, let's get in the last final minutes here. Let's talk about the Anaheim Ducks. Your buddy Pat Verbeek over there. So we go back to last year, right? Last summer, we're not sure where they're going. They trade John Gibson, and you're like, oh man, I feel like that was one of their only good players. But they found a way to kind of reboot what they were doing. They built a good team. They had their number one center, young number one center. They got the good, solid goaltending. They have a couple of young guys. Seneca's been really good. They got some good defensemen. They got Gudas out there leading the charge. Things are good. They make the playoffs. They knock off the Edmonton Oilers. Everything's going right in the Orange County. Then the summer hit.
Beaker.
And they lost McTavish. They already lost Zegras, we mentioned last year. They lose Zellweger. Then the news of an offer sheet. Offer sheet started on July 1st, and there were a few of them. There's already been more than we've seen in quite a while. We talked about Robertson, Bork being part of that. I think a lot of people had kind of mentioned to Anaheim that teams were interested in Leo Carlsson, who was an RFA, that young number one center I was just talking about. They had talked to, from what I hear, Leo Carlsson about a number where he wanted to be at. The Ducks were kind of in a 12 range. Carlsson wanted 14, 15, which again blows my mind, but that's where we're at with the salary cap going up and where it's been. They kind of sat there, and then all of a sudden, offer sheet comes from the Philadelphia Flyers for 5 years, $18 million AAV for Leo Carlsson. So let's start with the obvious. Why would Philadelphia do this?
Because they've got the cap space, and I think that they feel that they can go another round or so if you bring another player in when it comes to playoff time. I think they feel good about their team. Plus, they need some offense on that team, right? That's probably the biggest thing. To me, it's just about getting a player that's available. It's what the system is right now. Going that number, that obviously.
I mean, what?
That's throwing a dart over there at Anaheim. There's no question.
Because you knew, like, if they were going to offer sheet him and they put it at 14, Anaheim's probably going to match it because it's somewhere around where they're going to be. They had to blow them out of the water, and they did.
Well, and Beaker had said a couple of weeks previous, any offer sheets, we're matching them. We're buying them. Well, it doesn't really matter. Well, I don't think he saw this one coming, right? And there another problem that they have there was they got Gauthier too that had 41 goals, and so he's in a similar boat, right? Yep. So they've got to get him taken care of. That Seneca, I
think Seneca has one more year before
he's got another one too. So, I kind of look at it from sitting on this side. I'm like, man, I hope he takes the let him go, take the picks. I can, if there's somebody that's not happy here and can get a little more money in Anaheim, I think there's people Dallas team that's stirring the pot a little bit and maybe a little closer to California, and all of a sudden you get a couple picks back, and maybe that's part of a deal. Who knows what it is? And then, you could use those picks and maybe get a top left winger and all this other kind of stuff goes through my mind. But I think what's happened with Beaker is that he's had a reputation, and maybe part of this, of being that hard-nosed GM that's not going to pay what he wants to pay. And he's done that for years. And now the landscape has changed, and now he's got his back against the wall. And I don't think he was prepared for it.
Yeah, and the big one for me is, and the reason I thought, obviously, you know Beaker well, so that was one of the, but the Elliot Friedman and a couple other people kind of talking about the situation out there, and it went from, as we just mentioned, great, everything was fantastic. They had a chance to get through to the Western Conference Final, lost to Vegas, I believe, in that second round, but they beat the Edmonton Oilers, the team that had been to the Western Conference Final and the Stanley Cup Final 2 years in a row, was a team that was supposed to be right there, but to go from that to people saying that Verbeek has lost control of the organization, first of all, is that at all true? And second, how do you get even to the point where someone's saying that in the blink of an eye?
Well, I don't know if he's lost control, but he's going to lose some key players. I mean, He's got the captain's not there. Trouba's not there.
Gudas gone. Yep.
Gudas is in Florida. I think Trouba's in San Jose. So the team next door got a little bit better from what they've done. San Jose has gotten better, and now all of a sudden Anaheim's losing guys. So, as much as we're reading and hearing around here about what Jim Nill has done or hasn't done, however they want to look at it, with the Dallas Stars and Jason Robertson, I'm wondering what's happening in Anaheim. With as far as the fans are going there. So it seems like their team is getting ripped apart. So, but then there's other people that I've heard say they've got to sign Leo Carlsson, and then maybe it's Gauthier that, maybe you take Jason Robertson and send him that way, and Gauthier comes this way.
Oh, okay. I like that. That's a 40,
you know what I mean?
40 goal
maybe,
scorer.
you're switching 40 goal scorers, and Gauthier probably wouldn't turn that down. You're coming to a Stanley Cup team, and the tax situation's a little bit different. Yep. Jason Robertson, you're going to Cali, depending on
love it to be in Orange County. No doubt about that. Go play for the Ducks. I mean, we've mentioned Robertson. You knew we would bring it up at least for a couple minutes at the end of the show. Jason Robertson would be great in a lot of the teams that we've talked about in San Jose and Anaheim, playing on more freewheeling teams and also teams that have superstars like Celebrini.
Well, the other thing, when speaking of Gauthier, Sam, a 41 goal scorer, and if Carlson stays, what is he going to get paid? Right? You can't have two guys making that
in a year, and it's another year of the cap and everything going on and the market going up. So I guess the simplest question I have for you: do they match it? From what I've heard, I've heard it worded as they have no choice but to match it.
Well, and I think that's because of what Beaker said.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is because it's Leo Carlsson. I mean, he's not an $18 million player.
No, not yet, at least.
Yeah. So, but if Philly, I can't believe that Philly would have made that offer for that dollar amount, not thinking that that they're not going to get him. I mean, they didn't just throw a number out there and not be prepared to pay for it.
Well, that's what's funny too, right? Like, you look at offer sheets. If this was two division rivals, let's say, Dallas and Minnesota, you're thinking, oh man, you know what? Maybe because then worst case, Stars match it and it messes their salary cap up because you offered it. So but this one is an Eastern Conference and a Western Conference team that are pretty much never going to meet more than a couple times a year. So it's kind of confusing. You're right. It feels like the only reason they do it is because they want the player, not for any sort of behind the scenes.
Right. They see him as a good player. Yeah. They see Philly. It's a need that Philly has because they need some creativity and some goals put up on the board there for that team. So, I mean, from Philly's standpoint, they've got the ability, they got the cap space, and they obviously went through all the channels all the way upstairs and said, listen, we're tossing this one out there. It's 90, what does it come out to, 90 million or something like that? So
for Carlson, which in 5 years, which is about what Mikko is making in 8 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big number, and ownership obviously approved it.
Yeah.
So they're looking at taking a big swing, and they think it's a guy that's going to improve their offense.
That's crazy. All right, let's finish here with Robo. We got one more super chat to talk about. Let's pop that up, Brian. Thank you. Super chat from Sam Lyles 2989. It is another Miro and the Cup year. What do you think the FO will say at the arbitration table to Robo? I believe the FA is final finals, basically the arbitrator. What are they going to be saying to Robo at that table? I guess probably to deter from what he would be getting in the contract.
I mean, I think if they're going to say anything, it's going to be defensive end of the game. I mean, you can't. What negative comment can you have about Robo once he crosses the center line and gets to the offensive blue line? I mean, what can you say? I mean, he's creative. Is he a guy that's going to run people over? No, that no matter where he plays, that's not who he's going to be. He's going to be that guy that is dangerous on the power play. He's dangerous from the tops of the circles and with that ability to shoot. And then he's a killer when it comes to the shootout. If that piece of garbage continues on, the shootout, I mean, we can do away with it for me. It's getting old for me, but I know people like it. But anyway, I mean, he's a goal scorer. That's what he is. I mean, he's not ever going to probably win a Selke. So you know what you're getting with Jason Robertson. You get consistency. And maybe that's what you see out of Gauthier too in Anaheim. That maybe that's where he is. But Robo's got a bigger track record of what he's done.
Yeah. All right, that's it, guys. Another show with just Sam and Luds. We will be back tomorrow at 2:00 again. We will talk a lot about Mikko Rantanen as well as some other stuff. So for Craig Ludwig, for Papa Ludwig, and for Ryan behind the scenes, I'm Sam Nestler. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. DLS.
Perfect. Thanks, y'all. Y'all have a good summer, okay? You guys are great. Thanks, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.